Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. I am very happy you're with us today. Hey, listen, last week we did a show, and it was signs that you're unhealthier than you think. And I'm kind of motivated for this. I'm going to get a little personal for a second. A friend of mine recently passed away, and he had cancer, and he had a chronic cough. And I always said we need to get that checked. And we did some hiatal hernia work and things like that. He never followed up with it. And I don't know if it would have changed anything. It was a pancreatic issue. I don't know if the pancreas was causing the chronic cough. But if you have signs and symptoms, it's a good idea to get them checked out. Certainly some of the things we talked about. Now, last week we discussed a lot. That's available on our website, drjoe.com. And also, if you're on whatever podcast service you use, it's Dr. Joe for the health of it. Dr. Joe for the health of it. That podcast is out there already. So I'm going to continue in this vein in honor of my friend, because if we have issues and we don't check them out, it could lead to something more serious. And I'm going to start out with that indigestion thing, because we have a lot of patients come to us with digestive issues. It might be acid reflux, heartburn, burping, gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation. So things like this are telling us that the digestive system isn't working properly. Now, the digestive system is a really complex system. I mean, think about this. You could eat a little square hamburger with white bread, and it can become broken down, absorbed into the body, and it can build bicep muscle out of it or eye tissue. Not well, because it's not high in nutrients, but the body can survive on really bad stuff. Okay, not thrive, but survive. And so we're putting all this junk into the body, and the digestive system is given the task to break this stuff down and make it usable. So it can go awry because it's a very complex system. So it's really important that you consider what you're putting in your body and think the adverse side effects that may occur. And what's it going to do to my digestive system? So if you have indigestion, that can be a sign of something really serious. It could be a sign of cardiovascular issues. It could be a sign of gastrointestinal problems. It could be a sign that your stomach is pushing up against your diaphragm. Very common situation. I talk about this on every show I think I've ever done in the past 40 years. Your stomach is supposed to sit below the diaphragm. Your stomach can push up into the diaphragm, and that can cause acid reflux or heartburn or burping or gas. So if you have those symptoms, it's not something you want to ignore. And many cases, major majority of them, we just need to take the stomach and adjust it or pull it back down away from the diaphragm. And it's a physical issue. So what we do in our office is we treat the patient for a while. If we don't see a lot of results, we may go out and then order an MRI or a CAT scan or more tests. But we like to start out slow and build up. I call it escalation of care, because so many times people jump to the end game. I'm going for surgery. Well, maybe you don't need the surgery. Let's see if we can fix it without the surgery. I'm going to get an MRI. I'm going to get a CAT scan. I'm totally in favor of testing. I love testing patients, but maybe you don't need that quite yet. Now, if it's life-threatening, of course, we want to jump to the end game right away. But many cases that we can go basic, very low-tech treatments, and in most cases get amazing results. Most effective, least expensive treatment for back pain is chiropractic care. Most effective, least expensive. Why wouldn't we start every case of back pain with chiropractic care? I don't know. If I was Grand Poobah of the universe, I'd say we have to start here. And there are cases sometimes that come in our office, and it's something that it's not within our wheelhouse, and we say, you know what, we're going to go right to an MRI or a CAT scan or a surgery. So we like to start out basic. It's a lot easier. It's a lot simpler, a lot safer too, by the way, just so you know that. So if you have indigestion, it could be something wrong. And if you do, you might want to come see us and let us check it to see what's going on. And if we find something more than what we think we can handle, we'll co-manage the case with a gastroenterologist or an orthopedist or neurologist or whatever we need to do. So don't ignore bloating, gas, diarrhea, constipation, acid reflux. It can become something really serious. Don't take that lightly. It's no big deal. I just have a little gas. Well, little gas is okay. A lot of gas is a big issue. I get this question a lot. Again, I've been in practice 37 years. I get this question a lot. Dr. Joe, I got toenail fungus. I got jock itch. I've got vaginal yeast infections. I've got itching under my armpit. What do I do about that? Well, according to the American Diabetic Association, skin complications like fungal infections are sometimes the first sign of diabetes. Now, what does that mean? Well, diabetes is an issue with blood sugar. And if you're eating a lot of sugar, it can be leading to diabetes. But what usually happens is it's feeding the yeast that's living in your colon. So I'll back up. In your colon, you have probably about 100 different types of bacteria, and some are good and some are not good, but they live in harmony if you're healthy. They live in a symbiotic relationship. There's also something in your colon called yeast, Candida albicans, if you want to know specifically what I'm talking about. So Candida lives there, and it helps break down sugar when you eat sugar. So if you eat a lot of sugar, you're feeding the Candida albicans, and it makes lots of baby Candida albicans. And it starts to multiply. Now, it's in competition with the bacteria, so as long as everything's balanced, you're in good shape. But what can happen is the yeast gets overgrown because the sugar can be killing off the good bacteria, and it's feeding the yeast. So it's killing off the good guys, feeding the bad guys. And so now the yeast overgrows in your colon. And what the yeast does, simply put, is it wants to go on vacation. So it will burrow a hole in your colon, and the colon in some places only one cell thick, gets into the blood system. So now the yeast is floating around the blood system going, I want to set up shop where it's nice and warm and moist. And so where's a good place to set up shop that's warm and moist? Well, how about your toes? How about your crotch? Women, the vagina, the armpits, the ears. Sometimes you get a yeast infection that starts to itch in your ears. And so those are indications or signs that you may have a systemic yeast infection. So a simple test that you can do, and this is really cool because it's free. Tonight when you go to bed, put a glass of water next to your bed. Clear glass of water. When you wake up tomorrow morning, first thing you do, get a big mouthful of spit. Scrape your tongue with your teeth, get a big mouthful of spit, and spit into that glass. Now, you can wait up to an hour and see if this yeast, if the spit gets these little tentacles coming down from it, kind of like looking like an octopus. And if that's the case, chances are you have what's called a systemic, full system, yeast infection. Now, what do you do about it? Well, there's two approaches you can take. One is we can give you medication for it, and the medication is very effective. However, it can really destroy your liver. So you might get rid of yeast, but you cause some severe liver damage. The more practical, safer approach is we have a supplement protocol that we've put together, and I probably should put that on the website. Why don't you do that, Joe? Remind me to put that on the website, a yeast protocol on the website. And it's a supplement protocol to put together. And you take that, but you also have to change your diet. And I know you don't want to hear this, but you got to cut out the sugars, the breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, because you're feeding that yeast. And the yeast is just going crazy and making yeast babies with that sugar. So you got to start killing it off, and the supplements will help kill it off, and then you have to stop feeding it. And in most cases, it takes a few months. It's usually 3, 4, 5, 6 months, but you settle down the yeast. Why is it important to kill it off the yeast? Well, jock itch and vaginal infections and toenail fungus, yeah. But that yeast can get into your cells and can cause the cells to malfunction. So it's not something you want to take lightly. It's not something you just say, it's no big deal, it's just yeast. It's a pretty serious thing. And it can cause fatigue. It can cause cell function, energy production being affected by the cells. So that's why it's a good idea if you have the yeast to do something about it. And that's why I recommend you take care of that. So toenail fungus, jock itch, vaginal yeast infections, these are warning signs telling you something's wrong. Think of these things that we're talking about today as a fire alarm. The fire alarm is going off. What do? You can either shut off the fire alarm or get the heck out of the building. Well, I recommend you get the heck out of the building because the fire alarm's there for a reason. It's telling you that there's something wrong. And I don't want that to become a serious issue like, I don't know, you can burn to death. Well, same thing with these symptoms. They can tell you something's wrong, and they become a lot worse if you don't deal with it. Now, a lot of people complain about people that snore. Snorers. Is that a word, snorer? It can be annoying, but it could be a silent sign of what we call sleep apnea. Now, sleep apnea is when you stop breathing in your sleep. And it becomes an issue because you can't breathe, and then your body gasps for air. And you're gasping for air, trying to get oxygen back up to your brain. Your brain is going into, reaction mode. Something's wrong here. I got to keep this body alive. And if you're not getting enough oxygen, it can lead to a lot of problems, including heart issues. Now, with snoring, many times, not always, but many times the stomach, which sits below the diaphragm, is pushing up against the diaphragm. The diaphragm, when you breathe, drops down and sucks air into the lungs. It lifts up and blows air out of the lungs. So what's happening is you're trying to sleep. The stomach is preventing the diaphragm from going down. You're not getting enough oxygen, and then you gasp for air, and you're grabbing for air. So many times we can fix that by pulling the stomach down away from the diaphragm. I've also had people that snore respond very well to getting their neck adjusted because the nerves in the neck, there's one nerve specifically called the phrenic nerve, controls your diaphragm. And the diaphragm is the thing that goes up and down. So the diaphragm is in your mid-body, but the nerve supply to the diaphragm, the main nerve supply, is coming from the fourth cervical vertebrae. It's called the phrenic nerve. So we can adjust the neck, open up the nerve supply to the phrenic nerve, and then the diaphragm is able to move more efficiently as well. So many times this happens in people that are overweight. They got that big belly. They have pinched nerves in their neck. The stomach's up against the diaphragm. So what we do is we try to address all the issues. Fix the nerve supply, fix the stomach, and fix the diet. And if we have a program, it's on the website, drjoe.com, and it's called the 21-day weight loss program, a 21-day cleanse. And it's a little challenging because the first couple of days you take a lot of supplements and you eat a lot of fruits and vegetables and drink a lot of water and shakes. So we got to reset your brain with it. But if you can make it past the third day, in most cases, you're pretty golden for the rest of the 21 days. And it kind of resets your brain so you start eating better. So that's on the website, drjoe.com. But snoring is an issue. Snoring is telling us that there's something wrong. We don't want to ignore it. Many times with people that snore, they have a lot of mucus. And the two main mucus-producing foods are dairy and wheat. So I always recommend people cut out dairy and wheat. And here's my challenge. I always give you a challenge. No wheat, no dairy for 2 weeks. 1 week. I'll give it to you for 1 week. I'll make you an offer you can't refuse. So we're going to go no dairy, no wheat for 1 week. Not a bite, not a nibble, nothing. No wheat, no dairy for 1 week. At the end of 1 week, I want you to have some pizza, which is wheat and dairy. See how you feel. I've never had anyone come back to me and say, Dr. Joe, I felt great by eating the pizza. Everyone says, wow, I was tired, I was bloated, I was gassy, I had constipation, I had mucus in my nose, I was blowing my nose, I had spit. All that's a reaction to wheat and dairy. So I do recommend you cut out wheat and dairy. And if you don't believe me, cut it out and then go back to it and you'll see the difference. But that can also be affecting your snoring. Other signs that you don't want to ignore is you got to get up a lot and pee at night. Now, you believe it or not, one way to tell whether you're struggling to breathe at night is whether or not you wake up to go to the bathroom. And there's a correlation, and I'll explain it to you. 2009 study published in the journal Sleep and Breathing. They quizzed sleep apnea patients and found that a staggering 84% reported frequent urination, as often as 6 times a night. So what I recommend is, as you get older, especially men, the prostate will get a little larger, and it can push up against the bladder, and it can cause you to have to pee at night. So what I do is I stop drinking around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And you got to find out what time works for you. You can do 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. And I try to stretch it sometimes past 3 o'clock. Oh, I'm going to have a big glass of water at 4 o'clock. Even if I go to bed at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, I still have to get up. At 3 o'clock, I'm usually okay. So find out what time works for you. And then I'll have a little sip here and there, but don't have a lot of fluids. And especially things like alcohol, beer, things like that. That'll make you pee like crazy. But what this sleep apnea study found, those who had sleep apnea it's called nocturia, which means peeing at night, oxygen decreases. You're not breathing properly. Oxygen levels drops. Carbon dioxide levels increase because you're not blowing out the waste air. The blood becomes more acidic, the heart rate drops, and the blood vessels in the lungs constrict. So a lot of things are happening when you're not breathing properly. The body is then alerted something's wrong. You don't have enough oxygen. The brain says, hey, Joe, something's wrong. Take a look at this. The person sleeping then wakes up to reopen their airways. That's why sleep apnea patients oftentimes are woken up. By this time, the heart's racing and experiences a false signal of fluid overload. So what happens is the heart excretes a hormone-like protein that tells the body to get rid of sodium and water, and that results in too much peeing. So I know it's a little more complicated than you probably needed to know, but if you're waking up peeing, could be a prostate issue for men. It could be a sleep apnea issue, which we talked about. Check the stomach, check the nerve supply, stay away from the dairy products. Now, I've talked a lot about getting the spine checked, getting the stomach checked, getting the diet straightened out. If you'd like to come see us, in the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. We would love the opportunity to take you on as a patient. Now, I don't accept every patient. We only accept the patients we think we can help. No promises, no guarantees. But we're pretty good at this. So if you'd like to make an appointment, you can go right to our website, drjoe.com, D-R-J-O-E, and you can book an appointment right there. Or you can call us. If you call us, the phone number's on the website, we can go ahead and get that booked for you. Now, what does it look like when you come see us? Because everybody's afraid of the unknown. We'll do a consultation. We'll do it. If we accept you as a patient after the consultation, we'll do an exam. We'll take x-rays. We'll give you your first treatment. On the follow-up visit, we're going to go over the x-rays and the findings, show you everything we have. There's no secrets here in our offices. We'll do a complete nutrition evaluation, as long as you fill out the forms. And we'll do a nutrition evaluation. We'll include all that. Normally, that's $712. We've reduced that to $299. So just say you're listening to the show, and we'll get you in as soon as possible. We can book you usually the same day or next day in most cases. And for treatment after that, we accept all insurances. Sometimes it's out of network, sometimes it's in network. So we work with you no matter what your insurance is. We'll work with you. Cash patients, probably 40-50% of our patients are cash. It's the most effective, least expensive treatment for back pain. No reason why you shouldn't be here. There's financing available. If you're ever in a car accident, please, folks, if the car's damaged, you're damaged 100% of the time. So that's my experience. I've treated thousands, maybe tens of thousands of car accidents. And you want to make sure you go to a reputable doctor. Make sure you get a reputable attorney, because car accident field is just one big scam out there, folks. Everybody's scamming everybody in the car accident business. So we would love to have you as a patient. We'd love to make sure you get the quality care you deserve and make sure that you're being represented properly, because I'm tired of my patients getting, jerked around by the insurance companies, by attorneys. We do everything we can to make it as comfortable as possible. Even if you caused the accident, you still got hurt, you still need to come see us. drjoe.com. You can book an appointment right now, actually, if you want to. Other signs and symptoms you don't want to ignore. And again, if you're just joining us, a friend of mine recently passed from cancer, and he had some signs and symptoms, and he wasn't too excited about getting checked. Now, would it make a difference? I have no idea. But I don't want you to become a victim of saying, wow, had I found this sooner, it would have been a lot easier to fix. If you cut yourself and it takes a real long time to heal, that can be a sign of vitamin D deficiency. Now, it could be a sign of diabetes too. But vitamin D deficiency, one study, 2011, published in the Journal of Dental Research, measured how long it took patients to recover after dental procedures and found that vitamin D deficiency negatively affected treatment outcomes for up to 1 year. So you've heard me talk about vitamin D in the past. It's the cheapest insurance policy you'll ever buy. If you're going to do vitamin D, which you should, I recommend vitamin D3, not D2, because D2 is synthetic. D3 is more usable by the body. And you want to make sure you're taking it with vitamin K2. D3, K2. K2, what happens is with D3, D3 does a lot of things for your immune system, your brain, but also helps you absorb calcium. D3 will help you absorb calcium. K2 helps drive it into the bones. So if you're building up calcium in your soft tissues, your blood, your muscles, and you're not taking it out and putting it into the bones, it can become a big issue. So Dr. Joe's vitamin D3 has K2 already in it. I recommend 5 drops a day for adults. I had somebody this morning send me an email, and people, by the way, you can send me messages through the website, drjoe.com, wanted to know supplements for children. So I said, the minimum supplements I think everybody should be taking are Super Greens and Essential Source. So I said, start with a teaspoon of Super Greens, a teaspoon of Essential Source, maybe a frozen banana, whip it up, make like an ice cream out of it. And then as the kid gets used to that, add maybe a quarter teaspoon until you get to about a half a scoop for small children, a full scoop for an adult. It's a powder. And I also recommend vitamin D3 for them. And it's tasteless. It's a liquid. You put 2-3 drops for a kid, build up those vitamin D levels. And that's what I strongly advise you do. It's really important that you get into that mode of making sure you're taking supplements, you're eating the right food, you're making sure your nervous system is working properly through chiropractic care. It is not hard to be healthy. It's really hard to be sick. And so I don't know why the whole world just doesn't get it. Well, I ain't giving up my steak. Okay, don't give up your steak. How about you eat a lot of vegetables with it? I don't like corn. Well, then don't eat corn. I mean, it's so funny. I've had every argument thrown at me, and it's like, okay, well, here's a way around that. Here's a way around that. There's always ways to get the nutrients in your body. But the minimum supplements, I would say, Super Greens and Essential Source. And if you're not out in the sun at least 20 minutes to a half hour a day, vitamin D as well. Now, you can get your vitamin D checked. Every time you get your blood work done, I recommend you do get your vitamin D checked. And you want to have it around 60 to 80 nanograms per milliliter. That's how we measure vitamin D in the blood. Recommended is like 20 to 30 nanograms per milliliter. I don't believe that's enough. The research is very clear that 60 to 80 is where you want to be. So all the supplements we talk about, by the way, are on our website, drjoe.com. And we have we have 19 different supplements, I think it is. B-complex, adrenal support, nitric oxide, one of my favorites. Opens up the blood vessels, increases circulation, gives you a ton of energy, helps your brain work better. I was talking to one of my coworkers at the station, and he said, "What's your thoughts on this long COVID?" I said, "Absolutely. I had COVID, and for a long time, my taste and smell wasn't there. Energy was there." He said, "Yeah, he had it about a year ago, and he still doesn't have the cognitive function, the thought process that it used to be." So, yeah, you want to get yourself as healthy as you can to make sure the brain is working and the body's working, so that when things do come along, which they will, your body's able to deal with it and be able to process the healing a lot faster. And you do that by making sure you have the right nervous system, the right digestive system, and the right supplements and the right nutrition. So, again, if you have any questions, you can always send them to me through the website, drjoe.com. More than happy to answer your questions. If you're a podcast junkie, we have over 2,000 hours of podcasts on our website, audio and video. And if whatever podcast service you use, just type in Dr. Joe for the health of it. Dr. Joe for the health of it. And we have podcasts there as well. So we have podcasts, we have articles, we have blogs. I answer questions for you. We do live radio shows. We do remotes. We do podcasts that you can watch live. Love to have you join us. And all you have to do is follow us on social media at Dr. Joe Esposito. All one word, at Dr. Joe Esposito. And please do that. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. We have a YouTube channel. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We send out videos all the time. The information is here. It's accessible to you. It's understandable. And most people, I had a lady the other day, I was actually in tears in my office. She says, "Dr. Joe, I don't know if you remember me. My mother came to see you about 6 years ago. And she had cancer, and she was told she had 6 months to live. Well, she started following your advice, and here it is 6 years later. And she said she just wanted me to tell you she can't come see us anymore because of her living situation. But she said she wanted me to tell you thank you because everybody else gave up on her, and you didn't. Now, I don't have a cure for cancer, but we got her on the right food. We got her on the right supplements. 6 years later, she sent her daughter in to say thank you. Isn't that cool? That's kind of cool stuff. And again, it's less expensive than anything you're doing right now. It's easier. It's quicker. It tastes great. There's tons of great food to eat. You can go to our website, drjoe.com, and type in, "So what can I eat?" and listen to a lecture I did on what to eat. I've written books on it, Eating Right for the Health of It, Prescription for Extreme Health, supplements, podcasts, where our offices are available to you every day of the week almost, except weekends. Website, drjoe.com. Stop taking chances with your health. Let's get to the cause of your healthcare problems and not just treat the symptoms. And again, the website, drjoe.com. If you want to make an appointment, we'd love to see you. We can get you in very quickly in most cases. And car accidents, especially acute injuries, somebody got hit in the face with a baseball the other day, come in right away. Let's get to the cause of the problem as quickly as possible. drjoe.com. Other symptoms you don't want to ignore, and we've got a lot more to cover here. Your hair is dry. If your hair feels dry and brittle, no matter how much conditioner you use, you can blame it on your diet. 2017, published in Journal of Dermatology, Practical and Conceptual, researchers outlined a clear link between poor hair and iron deficiency, zinc deficiency, selenium deficiencies, vitamin D deficiencies, and others. So where do you get all those supplements? Dr. Joe's Essential Source. That's a probiotic, prebiotic, complete multivitamin, dried fruits and vegetables. That's the granddaddy of them all. I do recommend you you mix that with Dr. Joe's Super Greens, and I take a scoop of each every day. Now, with the Super Greens, I like the mint Super Greens. It's a little sweeter. If you want it sweeter, add a little stevia, mix in some frozen bananas. But minimum supplements, I can't imagine not taking it. Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source. Send me questions, make an appointment, order supplements, drjoe.com. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. What we're talking about today are signs and symptoms that you're unhealthier than you think. And I don't want you ignoring certain signs and symptoms because they can become some real serious issues. And in most cases, if we can get to a healthcare issue early on, it's a lot easier to fix. So you don't have to say, well, Dr. Joe, I had this problem for so long, and then I finally got it checked, and it was cancer, or it was arthritis, or it was whatever, diabetes. The earlier we get to it, the better we're going to be. So we did a segment on this last week, and that's going to be available on our website, drjoe.com. And also, if you're a podcast junkie, you could listen to our podcast, any podcast service you have. Just type in Dr. Joe for the health of it. Dr. Joe for the health of it. And that's our podcast on podcast services. And on the website, you can search what you're looking for, which is kind of cool. There's a little search bar, and you type in arthritis, men's health, whatever it is. And you can listen to shows and articles. They come up. They're all, categorized. And you can say, okay, I want to read an article. I want to listen to a show. I want to watch a show. We videotape a lot of our shows. And you can learn a whole lot of information just by spending a little time on the website. If you have questions and you can't find it on your own, you could always send me a question through the website, drjoe.com. And me or my assistant, Joe, we have too many Joes in this office, go ahead, we answer it for you. And with supplement orders, with healthcare, with booking appointments, many times you could do it right online yourself. But if you have questions, we're always there to help you out. Now, I got to tell you this. If you put in a question, I cannot see your screen. People say, Dr. Joe, what do you think of this? And that's the question. I don't know. What's this? Or I'll say, I don't know what article or podcast you're listening to, so I don't know how to respond. So put in a form of a question, not in a form of, as if I'm in your living room watching you, because I don't do that. We don't have that capability. So let's jump right in. We got a lot to cover today. Signs and symptoms you don't want to ignore. Temperature sensitivity. It's referred to heat or cold intolerance. That can be an indication of a thyroid problem, either overactive or underactive. Symptoms of temperature intolerance, especially if they're new, you might want to get an evaluation for your thyroid and get that checked out. Now, what happens with the thyroid is you can get hyperthyroid. And this is when you have tons of energy, you're losing weight maybe, you're running around, oh my gosh, I feel great. Hyperthyroidism oftentimes causes the thyroid to crash and becomes hypothyroid. So from hyper to hypo. So you got to be careful with that. If you think everything is great, you want to check it. Now, if you have bulging eyes, if the eyes are bulging, hyperthyroidism can push against the back of the eyes and build up fluid, and that can cause that bulging eyes. Marty Feldman, if you're old enough to remember, he had that classic hyperthyroid look in his eyes. So if you have these big, beautiful eyes that are bulging a little bit, good idea to get the thyroid checked. And if it is, you can go to our website, drjoe.com, listen to the show we did on thyroid. Now, I'm not telling you not to follow your medical advice. I'm not telling you don't need medication. I'm not telling you don't need surgery. Just, this is an addition. The information I give you is always in addition to what you're doing, not instead of. Our goal is that it becomes instead of. That you do everything we say for whatever your healthcare condition is, and then you don't need the medication. You don't need the surgery. But I can't decide that. We have to work together to get you healthy enough, and then your primary care doctor can say, you know what, Joe, you're doing great. Let's cut back your medication, your blood pressure, your diabetes, your cholesterol, whatever it is. So let's try, if you're not willing to do just a holistic approach, let's try incorporating the holistic approach into whatever your health condition is, and let's see what happens. The nice part about what we do, if it doesn't work, so what? Didn't work. Relatively safe, relatively inexpensive, and in most cases it does work. And then people say, get it every day, why didn't I do this sooner? Why did I suffer for so long? And my answer is always, I don't know. This information is on our website, drjoe.com, and I'm not the only source of information, but I'm certainly a good source of information. And you can incorporate this into your lifestyle. It's easy, it's quick. Eating right is so much less expensive than anything you're doing right now. I can't imagine why everyone isn't just following our advice. Even supplements like Super Greens and Essential Source. A couple bucks a day. Way less expensive than coffee. And so much better for you. So why isn't the whole world taking Super Greens and Essential Source? I don't know. And you could try it. We try not to make it too sweet, but if you want to make it a little sweeter, add a little stevia to it if you want to. Lohan, you can add to it. Monk fruit, a frozen banana. I do that, make a smoothie out of it. Just take it and chug it. Get it down every day. It tastes pretty good. I like the mint Super Greens, personally. There's mint and there's regular. I think the regular is boring. I like excitement in my life. So I do the mint Super Greens. Yeah, that's my excitement in my life. I do mint Super Greens. Woohoo! Other symptoms and signs that you don't want to ignore, because many times patients come to us and their condition is so far gone that we have not limited results, but it takes a lot longer to get the results. So I want to make sure that you get to these things as quickly as possible. There's one thing that happens a lot, and people tell me this a lot, and they say, Dr. Joe, I can't stop thinking about food. Now, I like food. People say I'm a foodie. We're all foodies. We eat. Of course we like good food. But when you become obsessed with food, it's the only thing you can think about. And now our culture praises us to try to lose weight, but sometimes that losing weight can go overboard and it becomes unhealthy, and it could actually lead to something like an eating disorder. So eating disorders have the highest mortality rate of all psychological disorders. Wow. And I understand it. I mean, we all want to look pretty, and as we get older, we don't quite look like we did when we were 16 or 18, and that's inevitable. The body is going to age. And I saw a great quote from somebody. I forget what it was. It's like, I gave up my six-pack abs for knowledge, wisdom, and peace. Something along those lines. And I said, yeah, as you get older, you do make better decisions. You get people out of your life that maybe shouldn't be there. You let people in your life who should be there. And you stop making the same stupid mistakes you made when you were younger. So we do have to give up one for another in many cases. Now, I do want you to be healthy. I want you to stay in shape, of course. But your body will change. But many times when I deal with people with eating disorders, they're malnourished. Because A, they're not eating enough food, or B, they're so obsessed with food, they can't stop thinking about it. The brain is saying, hey, I need some nutrients. So the minimum supplements I recommend everybody take are Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. They're 2 powders. They taste great. I mix them together with coconut milk, almond milk. Each batch is a little different because we use all natural ingredients. So say, well, the Super Greens last time was sweeter, it was a little greener, it wasn't as green, and that's because it's all natural ingredients. So not every apple tastes exactly the same. Not every batch of Super Greens and Essential Source is going to be the same, but that doesn't mean they're not amazing. And so they're on the website, drjoe.com. Other signs and symptoms that you shouldn't ignore. You're nauseous all the time. Now, you may brush it off, oh, I had some bad food, or I'm just nervous, whatever it is. You should think twice about ignoring stomach issues. And I've talked about this, I don't know how many times over the years. And this is from the Parkinson's Foundation, warning that this could be a symptom of a certain disease, like Parkinson's. Difficulty swallowing, feelings of nausea, constipation are all common signs of Parkinson's disease. Same brain changes in Parkinson's disease that cause stiffness and slow movement also affect the muscles involved in swallowing and pushing food through your digestive system. As food pushes through your digestive system, it's called peristalsis. And so the peristalsis may not be working, pushing it along properly, because Parkinson's affects muscle control. It could be, if you're nauseous all the time, pinched nerve in your neck. A pinched nerve in the neck, especially in the atlas up there, atop of the neck, can affect what's called the vagus nerve, V-A-G-U-S. And in a trivia question you ever asked, that's my favorite nerve. Now, the vagus nerve controls digestion. And so that's why if you get seasick and you're rocking back and forth, the inner ear can affect the vagus nerve, which can cause the nausea. So just got to consider that there may be something going on with the digestive system. So the nausea is not something you want to ignore. Now, what I find sometimes with nausea, people are dizzy. And with dizziness, it usually comes from 2 places. One is the back of the brain, the cerebellum. The other one is the inner ear. So if the cerebellum or the inner ear are being affected, that can cause you to rock back and forth, feel uneasy. So we can do a test, and it's called a Romberg test. It's very simple. Stand the patient up, put your arms around them so they don't fall, and have the patient close their eyes. And we see if they start to sway front to back, side to side. Usually if they sway to one side, it's that cerebellum, that part of the brain, that isn't getting the proper neurological input. And so there are certain adjustments we can do to try to jumpstart the cerebellum. Could be the inner ear, could be a bone out of place, could be you need a pinched nerve. So we need to look at all that. And so when you come in, if you have that uneasiness, we try to figure out, is it a digestive system issue affecting the vagus nerve? Is it the cerebellum? Is it the inner ear? And then we try to get to the cause of it. Sometimes it's medication. Sometimes crystals build up inside the ear, and that can irritate the part of the ear that creates balance. So we don't always have a cure for everything, but we certainly have a roadmap to try to get to it. Because patients say all the time, Dr. Joe, I've tried everything. I've taken medication. Nothing's working. No one's ever checked the physical aspect of it. Pinched nerves, stomach, cerebellar imbalances. So we always try to get to the cause of the problem, not just treat the symptoms. And that's something we've been doing now for 37 years. We plan on doing it for a lot longer. So if you'd like to make an appointment to come see us, you can go to our website, drjoe.com, and you can book an appointment right there in the Atlanta area. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. We would love to be your doctors. We would love the opportunity to try to get the nervous system, digestive system, and diet straightened out for you so that you can have a better chance of experiencing optimum health. And I can't imagine anything more valuable than optimum health. So if you want to make an appointment, drjoe.com. Usually the first visit and part of the second visit is $712. We've reduced that to $299. I know that's crazy. Exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays, complete nutrition evaluation. The x-rays alone many times cost more than $299, which is what we're charging. So yeah, it's a good way to get started into healthcare. And we accept people with all insurances. We work with the insurance, whether it's in-network, out-of-network, coverage. We try to work with around your insurance plan, car accidents, sports injuries. We'd love to be your doctor, drjoe.com. And if you're in a car accident, by the way, come see us immediately. Do not waste time. That's not something you want to jerk around with. Other signs and symptoms that you don't want to ignore, keep going back to the digestive system, irregular bowels. If you're not going to the bathroom at least once a day, preferably twice a day, there can be something wrong. Now, there's something called transit time, and that's how long food takes to go from your mouth and out of your system. Transit time through the intestines is one of the first signs of having a real serious issue. When you don't have enough good bacteria in your colon, and bad bacteria then kind of take over what we call pathogenic bacteria. Yeast can start to overgrow. This can all affect the processes in your gut, and that includes nutrient absorption, vitamin production and absorption. So constipation or diarrhea or inconsistent unhealthy bowel function is a sign that there's something wrong. And we always check the nerve supply to the digestive system. That's the low back, if you're talking about the bowels. We check the stomach to see if it's pushed up against the diaphragm. We check your diet. We might recommend some supplements for you. We want to try to get the digestive system working. We talked earlier about the digestive system being such a sensitive system, and it can easily be thrown out of balance. And we don't want that to happen because it means you're not absorbing your nutrients and passing out your waste products properly. And so we want to get to the cause of whatever your health issue is. And in most cases, we get really good results. I don't understand why the whole world isn't just, sometimes they are lined up outside our doors. We've seen that on occasion. But we want to get you in as quickly as possible for you, your friends, your family. So please make an appointment to come see us, drjoe.com, and let's try to get to the cause of your problems and not just cover up the symptoms. Other things I get a lot of. Dr. Joe, I got really dry skin. I've got eczema. I've got psoriasis. If you have inflammation in your body, and the foods that cause inflammation are the 7 deadly sins: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. So we want to reduce the inflammation. Whenever I see a skin condition, I think about the liver. The liver is oftentimes related to skin issues. So the liver is then related to the digestive system, and the digestive system is related to what you eat, pinched nerves, stomach out of place. So we always want to go back to the digestive system as part of a health protocol. So if we can get the digestive system working, that can take the stress off the liver, and many times the skin issues clear up, which is kind of nice. The 2 foods, you know what they are if you've listened to me before. The 2 foods you want to avoid when it comes to inflammation and itchy skin and just about everything, mucus, wheat and dairy products. Now, you want to avoid all 7 deadly sins: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. But itchy skin, blood sugar issues, mucus, you got to cut out the wheat and the dairy right away, like starting today. Now, the nice part is when I went healthy 35 years ago, we didn't have a whole lot of choices. There wasn't coconut milk and almond milk. I think soy milk might have existed, but there was no milk substitutes. There were no butter substitutes. There was no ice cream substitutes. Now there is. So there's nothing in the dairy world that we don't have a substitute for that's either as good or better than actually drinking cow excretion. So I like that. Now with wheat, we didn't have a lot of gluten-free choices at the time. We didn't even have the word gluten, I don't think. But wheat was different then too. Wheat now has been hybridized. So it has a much higher content of protein than it used to. And a lot of those proteins cause the allergic reactions and mucus reactions. So wheat is different than it used to be. And that's why if I go to Europe and I eat wheat, I usually don't have a reaction. But if I eat wheat in the United States, I have a mucus reaction, sinus, runny nose, phlegm in the throat, because they still grow wheat old world style in many cases. And here in the States, we've hybridized it. We've shrunk it down. We concentrated the protein. So it's a big different world between what it used to be and what it is now. So no wheat, no dairy. Supplement-wise for the liver, glutathione, the master supplement for the liver. Of course, the minimum supplements everybody should take are Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. And then with the bowels, we want to look at probiotics. Now, Essential Source has probiotics in it. I take Dr. Joe's probiotics in addition to the Super Greens, the essential source. I want to make sure I got lots of good bacteria in my gut. So all that's available on the website, drjoe.com. You can come pick it up. We have offices in the Atlanta area, Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. Feel free to come by and pick it up, save some shipping costs. Or we can ship them to you. Shipping's we charge you what they charge us, basically. We don't make money on the shipping. But we try to get that out to you as quickly as we can so that you can get on the supplements right away. And we try to ship every day, every weekday. We're out there with Joe, my assistant, is shipping every day. So if you're thirsty all the time, we're talking about signs and symptoms you don't want to ignore. If you're thirsty all the time, that can be a sign of a blood sugar imbalance, many times diabetes. And it's called diabetes insipidus. And you're thirsty all the time. So yeah, it's nice to be thirsty. It's good to drink a lot of water. But if something's not right, you might want to get your blood sugar checked. And if it is high, then we got to start digging around. Is it type 1 diabetes? Is it type 2 diabetes? You might have had something called your A1C tested when you had your blood work. A1C is an indication of long-term glucose levels in the body. So that's an issue. We want to make sure the blood sugar is balanced there. C-reactive protein is another test you might get done with your blood work. That tells us if there's inflammation in the body. Now, doesn't say where the inflammation is. It just is inflammation. So if you have a high C-reactive protein, we want to hit it. We know all guns are firing. Get the nervous system working. Get the digestive system working. See if you have any pinched nerves causing long-term inflammation. Dietary changes. All this stuff, too, folks, is so easy. It's so inexpensive. It's ridiculous when patients start doing these things and say, why didn't I do this sooner? Why did I wait so long? Another symptom you don't want to ignore, we have this happen a lot in our office, is headaches. Now, multiple sclerosis doesn't always immediately manifest as muscular issues. Rather, it could be, this is from the European Journal of Neurology, 78% of MS patients, multiple sclerosis patients, experience headaches as the first onset of their illness within 6 months of it starting up. It could be a pinched nerve. Number one cause of headaches is a pinched nerve in the neck. So chiropractic care is usually very effective for most headache patients. Now, it could be dehydration. It could be stress. It could be alcohol. It could be something more serious, something growing in the brain. So if you have headaches, now granted you might have a headache, a day or so here or there. It's probably no big deal. But if you have regular headaches, I do recommend you come see us right away. And let's find out what's going on. Because sometimes just by looking at an x-ray, we can figure it out. Sometimes we have to go a little deeper. We have to maybe do an MRI or a CAT scan. But usually, most cases, not all, chiropractic care solves the problem. Something as simple as monosodium glutamate, MSG, can give you headaches. Something as simple as artificial sweeteners, aspartame, can give you headaches. So a lot of times when patients come in, we do a nutrition evaluation on them. We look at their diet and we say, holy cow, you're sucking down artificial sweeteners 6 times a day. No, I'm not, Dr. Joe. I never do any diet sodas. How about this piece of gum? How about this candy that you're eating? How about the yogurt you have for breakfast every day? Oh my gosh, I didn't realize they all had aspartame in them. Yeah, they do. Cut out the aspartame and a lot of times the headaches go away. We check the nerve supply. Headaches go away. We get them on supplements like Super Green, Essential Source, nitric oxide, opens up the blood vessels. Headaches go away. So headaches are a warning sign telling you something's wrong. Please don't ignore it. And taking a medication, I know one of my coworkers at the radio station, he takes medication, and if he stops the medication, just over-the-counter stuff, ibuprofen, he has what's called a rebound headache. As soon as he stops, he gets a headache. So he says, the only thing I can do is detox for a couple of days or just keep taking the pills. So he decided he's just going to keep taking the pills. And I wish he wouldn't because I like him. He's a very good friend of mine, and he's an amazing host, brilliant man. And I hate to see that happen. So, a famous man once said, forgive them for they know not what they do. And I try to tell you not to do it, but then the same man also said, no man's a prophet in his own hometown. And boy, is that ever true. People who listen to me from all over the world, but the people closest to me sometimes I have a little trouble getting through to. Other signs and symptoms you don't want to ignore. How about a constant coughing, clearing the throat, hoarseness? These can all be signs that something is wrong. And in many cases, it's a hiatal hernia. The stomach is pushing up against the diaphragm. Acid is leaking up into the throat. Now, you can have a test, and they say, well, you don't have a hiatal hernia. It's not showing up on a test, but you still have the symptoms. Sometimes it's called a sliding hiatal hernia, where it goes up and down. And many times we still need to adjust the stomach, even if you don't technically have a hiatal hernia, full-blown hiatal hernia. We can massage the stomach down away from the diaphragm. We check the nerve supply from the spine that controls the stomach. And in many cases, that solves the problem. Sometimes it doesn't, but most cases it does. So if you're clearing your throat all the time, if you have hoarseness, a chronic cough, sinus problems, it could be acid coming all the way up from your stomach into your sinuses, irritating your sinuses, causing inflammation. Doc, I got allergies. No, you got acid reflux. Really? Go ahead and fix it. It's pretty cool. How about your brain is foggy? That can be issues as well. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Last week, went to an event, and Jeff Foxworthy was there. And it was kind of cool. So I got introduced to him. And he says, "You're Dr. Joe. I listen to you on radio." So it's kind of cool that Jeff Foxworthy's listening. So Jeff, if you're listening, welcome. Nice to have you as a fan. Back to the brain. I forgot to brag a little bit there. Excited that he knows who we are. Brain fog. Brain fog can be a sign of a lot of different things. Could be a bad diet, could be stress, but it could be kidney issues. It could be cardiovascular issues. So if you're dealing with brain fog, you always want to try to get to the source of the problem. 2012 study published in Nephrology, Dialysis, Transplantation, another fun journal, found that declining renal function is often associated with declining cognitive function, brain function. So kidney issues, when I first got in practice, I hardly ever saw patients with kidney issues. Now I see 4, 5, 6 a week. So something's changed dramatically. Now, it could be that we're better diagnosing it. I'm not saying that. I want to play devil's advocate. But I really think it has a lot to do with our diet. Things like artificial sweetener, monosodium glutamate, these high-protein diets, so bad for the kidneys, just tearing up the kidneys. So I don't recommend you do those things. Okay, I do recommend you eat a good balanced diet of fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds. Not a big fan, of high-protein diets. You don't need that much protein. It's a strain on the kidneys. Dehydration, alcohol. I think we did a show on kidneys. If you go to our website, drjoe.com, you just type in whatever you're looking for, kidneys or liver or men's health issues or headaches. We've probably done a show or a podcast or a blog on it. Usually we've done multiple different forms of media. So you can decide what's going to work best for you. Do you want to read an article? Do you want to read a transcript? You want to watch a video? You want to listen to an audio? We got you covered because I know different people learn different ways. And that's why the website's great. If you'd like to make an appointment to come see us, if you have neck pain, back pain, headaches, digestive issues, nutritional issues, please do it now. Don't waste time that could be so valuable in your healing process. drjoe.com. In the Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. Normally, the first visit is $712. We've reduced that to $299. And just the x-rays alone sometimes cost more than $299. But we're going to give you exam, x-rays, consultation, first adjustment, going over the x-rays, nutrition evaluation. We accept people with all insurances, no insurances, car accidents, sports injuries. We want to be your doctors, folks. drjoe.com. Don't waste any more time. Follow us on social media. Please do that as a favor to me. drjoe.com, at Dr. Joe Esposito, is our social media handle. We post every single day. We post some good information. So I'm Dr. Joe Esposito, the website, drjoe.com. I hope to see each and every one of you very soon.